Hey, everybody. Is it kind of fun that we watch the countdown and I'm like watching it, I'm going, there's got to be a big like thing to kind of send you into like, hey, the countdown's over, here we go. Hey. So I just want to make it like, I'm just going to try and hit a if I could really crescendo at that point. And then we're done. That's it.
You could have done like a backflip.
Appreciate you. Hey, I'm Scott, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. It's another HEB virtual cooking class. We're so excited that you decided to join us tonight. With me, as always, my moderator, my timekeeper, my homie, my friend, Charlotte Samuel. Thanks for being here, Charlotte.
Thanks for having me. I'm here in the chat. If anybody has any questions about what you're doing up there or comments, let me know.
Good or bad, we'll take them all. Charlotte will do her best to answer everything. She's our great Googler, advice. We said the Google monger last week, and I'm going to use a different term. You're just the Googler.
I'm the Googler.
The great Googler. We have a lot going on tonight. It's all about spring seafood.
Love it.
So if you have, if you showed up to class, we're so excited you're here. If you are watching from Texas, obviously welcome. Hopefully you have an HEB near you to grab all these great items. If you're watching on Facebook, just know, and I'm going to grab it to demonstrate right now, if I pick up these fantastic HEB organic coconut flakes, you can actually make these. This is shoppable. You simply click on the item I have in my hand. It'll show up on the screen. It'll take you to where you can purchase it, and you can make what we're making along with me. It's very exciting. Those of you watching on YouTube, thank you so much for watching. We're excited to have you. And those of you who signed up for the Zoom, welcome. All the questions, let us know what you have. Seafood. First thing on seafood, Charlotte. You're a big seafood fan, right?
I am a big seafood fan.
The Lent season just started,
yes.
Obviously. So if those of you that are participating in Lent, great time to start looking up some great new seafood recipes.
Yes.
I'm going to show you some great techniques.
I'm excited.
I'm going to demystify some of the seafood that sometimes maybe you order out at a restaurant, but you don't want to cook at home because you're a little intimidated by it. I would call that item scallops. If you look at sea scallops,
okay.
Sea scallops have a perceived they may be hard to cook, or maybe you're nervous about cooking them because of the cost and like, well, they're tiny, I could overcook them. How do you cook them?
Yeah.
We're going to demystify. I'm going to take you through it. We're doing Scallops 101. I'm going to show you my way of doing it. It's really easy. It's so simple, and they have a great tell, and I'll show you all about that. We're also doing some salmon. We're going to make some coconut shrimp real fast, though. I think you can see it up here. Rob can show you. We're doing a fantastic homemade crispy coconut shrimp. Now, this coconut shrimp happens to be both dairy-free and gluten-free. Not because we planned it, but just because it was due to maximizing flavor and crunchiness. So instead of using actual like milk or buttermilk, we're actually going to be using coconut milk because we're going to double down on the coconut flavor, as Charlotte said. We're going to double down on it. If you're realizing tonight, you're like, hey, coconut shrimp sounds awesome. I'm working late. I got a million things going on. We are with you. We know all about the struggles that you face. Everybody faces their own unique struggles when it comes to time management, time skills, time things they got going on. Everybody's so busy. If you feel like you're like, hey, I want the coconut shrimp, I'm down. Just remember, you can go to your local HEB if you live in an HEB. Go to the Meal Simple case, and we have some great coconut shrimp ready to go, both in the single serving and also the family size. But I think most of the time for me, the family size serving is also one serving. I'm not ashamed to admit that, not ashamed to say that. We're going to make the crispy coconut shrimp really simply. We're going to make a citrus salt. The thing I love about the citrus salt is there's so many things you can use this citrus salt on. I'm really excited to show you how it works. It's great. It keeps for a really long time, and you can use it all summer long. So it's not only great during the Lent, the seafood we're going to do in these recipes tonight, but it's also fantastic over the summer. Steaks, chicken, chops, anything you're doing outside on the grill, fantastic. Also great on veggies, which I'll show you as a little side dish, as an addition to what we're going to do. And then we also are going to do a fantastic seared salmon with a fresh scallion vinaigrette. It's really, really good. Goes great together. So I'm going to show you how to do all that stuff. Let's get started first, though, with the coconut shrimp.
Okay.
So Charlotte, we are going to marinate the coconut shrimp in a fantastic, first of all, if you're looking at the recipes right in front of you, there's not a lot of ingredients. I'm talking the coconut, the cornstarch instead of flour. Now the reason why we're using cornstarch instead of flour is I kind of like when you fry food. I know, Charlotte, you do fried chicken. Sometimes you don't want a heavier batter on it.
Yes.
I love the way dredging these in cornstarch gives them, number one, you don't have that same flour flavor, but you get that really nice, crispy, light texture to it. It doesn't feel heavy. For some reason, I feel like flour sometimes feels heavy. Not there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah, cornstarch is used in a lot of Asian cuisine, so you may recognize it in like tempura, fried, anything.
Absolutely.
But cornstarch doesn't have it doesn't absorb the liquid the way that flour does, and it also doesn't have gluten, so it doesn't create that sticky chewiness.
Gluten-free.
So you get a very crisp, clean bite.
And can you give the folks at home we did this in rehearsal. We made the shrimp. Did you like the coconut shrimp?
Oh my God, I loved it.
I
loved it.
It's real simple. We're going to start a simple brine. So I've got my now I'm using these peeled and deveined. Actually, they're not peeled. They're the deveined colossal shrimp. These are a great catch. Real quick note on our seafood. First of all, if you don't live in Texas and you're watching this somewhere, welcome. We're so excited to have you here, to host you here. Just know that we're here for you. Anytime you want to come down to good old San Antonio and take a visit, we got the Alamo, we got so many great things. Come down to visit, check out an HEB, I promise it'll change your life. And you can go back to where you live and you'll be like, oh my gosh, we got to move to Texas. It's such a great store. But it doesn't matter, even if you don't have an HEB near you, you can cook along with us. There's some great tricks, there's some great techniques, and just buy this stuff at the nearest grocery store near you, and then you can cook along with us. We love having you here. It starts with coconut milk. So why coconut milk? I feel like, Charlotte, when we were doing this, like you could soak it in milk or buttermilk, which is usually kind of would be my go-to. However, if you want this to really be coconutty, I want this to really maximize, so we're going to use coconut milk and a little bit of water. So it's 1 can of coconut milk and a cup of water, and I actually add the water to the can of coconut milk, and then I will just kind of stir it up to make sure you get all the rest of that coconut out of there. And then 1 tablespoon of sugar, 2 teaspoons of salt. So it's kind of a brine. Now, it may seem to yourself, like, wait, why is there more sugar than salt? Well, I feel like coconut shrimp should have a little tinge of sweetness, but this is not going to make it sweet in the terms of like that you'd be thinking. It's just going to kind of do like a little bit of a quick brine on these. So you're going to kind of infuse a little bit of that salt and sugar flavor in the actual shrimp.
Okay.
He's going to get a little mix up. This is it. That's all you're doing. We have the shrimp. I got the coconut we're going to use. I got the cornstarch. That's for dredging and frying later. Really, really simple. That's the ingredients. It's going to get mixed up. I'm going to let this sit. This really only needs about 30 minutes. You don't have to go crazy. If you want to marinate this longer, you absolutely can. You can do it overnight if you want to. I mean, it's totally fine, but it really only needs about 30 minutes.
Okay.
Now, if you find yourself in a time crunch, Charlotte, which I know you have a busy home life.
Yes.
If you want to kind of get this going a little bit faster, simply take your coconut milk, your water, your sugar, and your salt, buzz it up in a blender so it kind of absorbs everything quicker, and then toss it over your shrimp. And then really, you only need about 15 minutes for it to soak up some of that flavor. You're really just looking for it to kind of get a little bit of that flavor of the coconut in there. But again, it doesn't take very long. Shrimp are very tiny. They're little guys. It's not like a big chicken breast, so it takes a little more time to kind of get that penetration. It's actually a little bit faster. So these are going to go in the fridge. I'm going to let those sit for a second. I'm going to show you what those look like. Right now, let's make the citrus salt. I'm really, really excited to show you guys this. This is the citrus salt that I like to make. So this is great on everything. This is something where use it for about a month. The salt will keep a good long time. I know most people think like, well, if I'm going to you're going to put zest on the salt and you leave it, how long is it good for? Well, bacteria can't grow on salt. And the salt's really going to pull out the oils from the actual zest itself, and it's going to permeate this salt, and it's amazing. And then eventually, what you can do, when you let it sit long enough, you can actually separate the zest. I use a little strainer here. So see, I've got so you see the color of this salt. This was made a couple days ago, but once the zest kind of dries out from whatever you're doing, you can actually use it as a garnish. It'll kind of dry out, and it's really good. It's got a little salt on there. It's got a little sweet, kind of like that great citrus flavor. So literally, I can use this now, if you wanted to, as a garnish. This is still fantastic to use on anything I'm going to use it for. I actually love to do this on my turkey during Thanksgiving. That citrus salt, just kind of over the top of the skin, just give you a little nice little bit of citrus.
So you're preserving the zest, essentially.
It's an old school way. You know, back before the days of refrigeration, Charlotte, we used to have to salt cure everything. We're just salt curing our zest here. And I'm using the zest of 2 lemons, 1 lime, 1 grapefruit. And I'm going to say this. It doesn't matter how big the lemon, lime, or grapefruit is. That's my measurement, is if you have 2 giant lemons, because it's not going to hurt anything. A little more zest, if anything, is just going to make it that much more flavorful. I've got a borosilicate bowl. Before I do this, I had to show this off. If you've been to an HEB near you lately, we have this great thing called, is it Hagen and, what is it called?
Haven and Key.
And Key. I knew I was going to butcher that, and I did. I didn't disappoint myself.
That's why I'm here,
friend. And Charlotte is here to make sure that I always say the right things. The Haven and Key, they have these fantastic jars. You all know how fond I am of borosilicate, or if you don't, pretty fond of these borosilicate bowls. Not only are they bowls you can use for anything mixing, we have casserole dishes made the same thing, measuring cups. Charlotte, if you're watching this for the first time and you're in Kentucky and you're like, what is borosilicate? Why would I want to have a borosilicate bowl? Would you tell them why you'd want something made out of borosilicate? What's special about this bowl?
I'm just going to give you the easy answer. Basically, borosilicate is tempered glass, right?
Okay.
And so you could take this bowl and you can go from hot to cold, cold to hot, extreme temperatures without risking that shatter.
Without it going...
Yes. I cannot say it's indestructible, but it will not crack or break if you go from hot to cold.
I won't do that. But they're fantastic. This is a thick, heavy bowl, and it's really inexpensive for what it is. But I found this great little, look at this thing. It's a fantastic, this is a really cool little old jar. And I'll turn it on its side. You can kind of see a little beveled edge there.
That's
How cool
pretty
is this?
cute.
I
pretty
made this
cute.
citrus salt. Isn't it? This is really cool. I'm going to probably, I think Alyssa already has dibs on this one, but at some point I'll five-finger discount one of these out of here, I'm sure. I love this citrus salt. This is made a week ago. You can kind of see the color in this. This is one I made a little earlier. I just want to show you the difference than what we're going to make now. So you see how over time that color kind of changes because that salt's just extracting all that great, those great oils from it. So it's really, really fantastic. Now, it doesn't have to be this kind of citrus. You can use anything. During citrus season, I love, if you've not tried blood oranges is one of my favorite citrus fruits because it almost is like a little bit of a sweet orange mixed with a little bit of like a kiss of raspberry. Not a lot.
Ooh, a little kiss of
just a kiss of
I
raspberry.
like the Cara orange.
Cara oranges, also very sweet, have a nice little, they have a little darker interior. They're really, really pretty. Any citrus you want will do. I'm going to use, again, the grapefruit, the lemons, and the lime. If you want to do straight lemon salt, same thing. Just double up on the lemons. Same thing with limes. Do like 4 or 5 limes until you just get enough flavor. But doing like this kind of thing with seafood, the grapefruit really plays well with seafood. And so it really does well with crab. It does well with just the way we're going to do it, the scallops. Salmon, absolutely. So we're going to take a cup of kosher salt. Now, if you're using iodized salt, I'm not going to talk anything, I'm not going to say anything bad about iodized salt. I will just tell you that if you're going to use for the citrus salt or any homemade salt, I would definitely go toward kosher because when I'm zesting this, you want the larger flake of the kosher salt, and you also want, kosher salt is typically mined, which means it's a much cleaner style salt. Charlotte, we talk a little bit about you said the kosher salt granules versus the iodized salt granules.
If you were to look at the iodized salt versus kosher salt under a microscope, what you would see is that iodized salt has a structure more like a cube, right? So it's a little, it's
a little different, right? Like
it's a more granular, whereas the kosher salt is more flaky and has a more like irregular shape. So the way it hits the mouth is different, and the way it dissolves is different. And so when you add it with the salt or with the zest here,
you want to have
you get more surface area to absorb that oil or extract that oil from the zest, and then also you just get a better mouthfeel, a crunchier mouthfeel.
Kosher salt is great. That's why most chefs typically will use kosher salt in restaurants. Sea salts, finishing salts are also typically used for finishing dishes or whatever. Kosher salt's just really clean. And it's also it's just fantastic salt. It does really, really well with this. And I'm going to show you, because what you're going to end up doing is mashing this zest into the actual salt so that it really pulls out all those oils. We're going to kind of mash this all up. A little lime zest here. This is real time, folks. We can do this entire thing in real time. You can be eating the salmon, the scallops, everything. Coconut shrimp, about an hour you can probably be doing it. You'll be all right. You fry it up. At this point, if you wanted to, you could go turn your oil on for your shrimp, get that heating up. And if you've got a little tailor-made thermometer or something we sell at HEB, a little thermometer, you always want to use your thermometer to about 350 to 360 just to start eventually, because we're going to use some cold. The shrimp is going to be a little bit colder because it's been sitting in the coconut milk, which is a little bit colder. It's being refrigerated. It's going to take that temp down, which is why we are going to use a da-da-da-da. Here's the selling moment that's on there for the Facebook Live folks, is the Cocinaware Dutch oven. Dutch ovens are key for me to fry in because they hold the heat so much more evenly that when you have like an actual, that's it, this whole thing, zested, everything's done. They hold the heat a lot more evenly, which is going to mean when you add cold ingredients, so you're frying, and everybody's done this when you've tried frying at home, you start like all the bubbles disappear and you're kind of like, they're just kind of sitting in this oil bath and you're like, well, I don't want my French fry. That's not going to be a good French fry. It's in the oil. So you want to make sure it stays hot, and cast iron is a great way. Those Dutch ovens, those nice cast iron, cookware is fantastic for holding the heat because it'll kind of regulate a little more. All right, you see what I got here?
Yes.
I got a glove on. I would do this with bare hands, totally fine, but after years of cooking, it's kind of like rubbing salt in all the little tiny wounds on my hand, which is not comfortable. So a little glove here. I'm just going to mash it all up. See, I'm just going to take in this. All you want to do, God, it smells, this is like, you could put this in your bathroom as potpourri probably. Yes, people may be like, why do they have, did you see Scott had in his bathroom, he had a thing of salt with some zest in it? What was that all about?
They call you Salt Tompkins.
Like, look, this is the best potpourri I can give you that you can, just use naturally and know that, at some point, yes, it may be weird to have it in your bathroom as potpourri, but I'm just saying it can be used in other uses
Are you
as well.
seasoning things while in the bathroom?
No. This is just, no. I keep that very separate. I'm very clear on what those two places are very separate in my mind, and they should be. What I do in the kitchen stays in the kitchen, and what you do in there stays in there.
Okay.
Never the twain shall meet, Charlotte. All right, so the salt is done. That's going to sit. That's good to go. We're going to dredge our coconut shrimp right now. We're going to get those going. I kind of want to make that as an appetizer.
Okay.
So I turn my oil on. My oil's already at 300. Again, I've got this 180,000 BTU stove here. So I just want to show you this really fast. So I'm using these colossal shrimp. Now, kind of, you can see my shrimp are in here. I've drained out my shrimp through a colander because we're going to use this liquid that's kind of soaked up some of the shrimp flavor.
Okay.
It's got the sugar, it's got the salt, it's kind of a seasoned
Yes.
liquid. We're going to use that as our dredging liquid. So I'm going to pull my dredging station over here. So I've got a little bit of the coconut shrimp that I've already drained on some. This is where it's going to get. This is where it's going to get mission critical here. This is where I'm going to need more space. I'm going to throw my shrimp down here. So we have the cornstarch. This is my dredging station. This is the way I like to do it, simply because I can go to H-E-B. I can grab a couple of the disposable pans just like so. And I know that when this is all done, the frying is done, I'm like, I got to wash 3 pans. I'm like, nope. They all get poured into one thing. They go in the garbage, and then it's all clear.
I use the Texas Tough resealable bag.
Texas Tough resealable bag, also a fantastic thing to do. This is really, really simple. So all you're going to do is, I'm going to take a colander. I'm going to show you how I did this.
Really quickly, this is what
Yes.
we would call in culinary school,
Yes.
if you were in culinary school, the standard breading procedure, right?
Yep.
Which is essentially
Standard breading
dry,
station.
wet, dry, correct?
Dry, wet, dry.
Okay.
That's correct. So in goes you see my liquid here. So you're going to drain out your liquid into the pan, because all this coconut milk is gold. But you want to keep, your shrimp should stay wet, because the first thing they're going into is cornstarch.
Yes.
Then they're going in the liquid, because we have to get the batter to stick. The coconut
Yes.
shrimp needs to stick. And so that's how we're going to do it. So it's going to go over here. I'm going to get rid of this guy. Aquí.
Very nice.
Shrimp are right there. I've got some shrimp that are already drained. They're kind of set out. So here's how it works. I'm going to do a few for you, and I'll show you. I leave the tails on my colossal shrimp. I'm using a peel and devein colossal shrimp. I feel like when you fry shrimp, I like bigger. I think bigger is better.
You know, I like that you're not doing that fully butterflied thing. I love the way these fry up. I love that when you bite into it, it's like
You get a little
it's like
something
there's
to
a
it,
crunch
right?
there. It's
Yeah.
very satisfying.
All right, I'm going to do a few, and I'm just going to show you. I've got a lot
Okay.
I've already made that are already ready to go. So I just want to show you this real fast. So it's just
Okay.
in the cornstarch. So again, it's our gluten-free alternative here. And not on purpose. I just like the way this cooks up and the way it crisps up, especially on seafood.
So you
just
took,
like Charlotte was saying.
You are taking an item that is wet, right? Just
Yep.
By nature of the item, so the shrimp, or because
Yeah,
it was
sit in the
it was
coconut
in a
milk.
marinade.
Yep.
You go into a dry. We're going back into the wet,
Back
right?
into the wet.
And the cornstarch is acting as sort of like a rough surface, so that the
It'll
the
form a coating
coconut
and
now
cream.
has something to hold on to. The coconut milk has something to hold on to.
And it's also going to insulate your shrimp when we start frying it.
Okay.
That coconut, the cornstarch on there is going to kind of help insulate it.
Yes.
So I just give them a little toss, a little shake, and they go right in the coconut. Now, there's a couple different coconuts you can use. I will say, do not use a sweetened coconut. If you like sweetened coconut, I promise you don't want to fry sweetened coconut because it's covered in sugar.
It'll burn.
So every time you know, it's going to burn up real fast. So if
Okay.
you like sweetened coconut, fry with the regular unsweetened, whatever kind of variety you like. I just use
Okay.
organic is fine. If you wanted a little bit more uniform, you don't want it so big and thick and shredded coconut, like if somebody in your family's like, I don't want to see it, it tastes really good, you can always pulse it up to make it a little more like breadcrumbs, and that's totally acceptable as well. But I just throw it in here, and then taking your dry hand, there's always a wet hand, dry hand, and just give it a little move around, just throw your coconut shrimp in here. It's super simple, and I promise you it'll cling really, really well.
Okay, so we went into that cornstarch, right? So it's
Into the
coated,
coconut milk, yep.
right? Then we went back into the coconut. So now we've got this like
You've got
a
this
solid
beautiful-
surface for the wet to hold on to, and
That's
then we
right.
go into the coconut so that now the coconut has something to hold on to, and now when
Exactly.
we put it in the oil,
Putting it in
it's
the oil.
not going to fall
Getting
off.
those out of the way. Check this out. You ready for this?
Don't want your breading to fall off.
So,
love it.
here in our classes, we like to kind of get you ready for everything. And there's always a shortcut to everything. So we have I started to talk about earlier and I got sidetracked. That's pretty normal. Our coconut shrimp, the meal simple coconut shrimp, great option if you're like, hey, I just want to get ahead. You can absolutely do the same way, fry them the same way if you want to, but actually, I feel like the meal simple actually do better in the oven. That's kind of what they were created for, so they do really good in the oven. You can see here, I could have done all these on Sunday night. Let's just say it's Sunday night, prepared for the week, right? Monday night, you're like, I want coconut shrimp. Let's do it. The family's behind it. Let's get there. Sunday night, let your coconut shrimp sit in the actual marinade, pull them out, dredge them, cover them, put them in your fridge. When you get home on Monday night, you're like, well, if you're driving home, I'm assuming you're like, What are we going to eat? Then you're like, I got it. We got the coconut shrimp. I'm into it. And all I got to do, set up the oil, pour a glass of wine, get whatever's happening at home, whether the kids, the spouse, whatever's happening, or just yourself, get everything else set, take dogs out, cat out, whoever you got, ferrets. You like ferrets?
Ferrets?
I would
Yeah,
love
let
to
the
have a ferret,
ferrets
by
out.
the way. Side note, big fan of ferrets. I don't know if people have ferrets enough anymore, but I feel like it's a pet that needs to make a comeback. Because they're just
Fun
like,
fact, you can fold a
so
ferret
fun.
in half.
You can, did you just say,
You can fold them in half. They
is that PETA friendly to fold a ferret in half? Is that like,
Well,
is
you
that a
don't
friendly
hurt
thing to do?
them.
Does it hurt them?
I had a
Are you
friend that
talking
had a
about hurting
ferret
the
growing up.
I want it to
They
be your
fold in
family
half.
pet, not hurt them. You can fold a ferret in half.
Yeah.
You know, I
mean,
used
you
to
know,
come
like-
to these classes for the culinary advice, and I just found out something hugely important about
Yes.
ferrets, that if I want a ferret, I can now fold it in half.
Yes.
What? That's awesome. All right, these are going to get dredged. I'm going to put them back in the fridge. We're going to fry those in just a second. Let's make our vinaigrette. Charlotte, I want you to know I did this for you, not the vinaigrette. I brought my friend, not from home. I couldn't bring that one. That one's very sacred to me. But I brought, if you're new to this program, you may or may not know, I like to take what I call calculated risks. Charlotte would call them sometimes stupidity, but I feel like it's fun to do either way. We're going to, we blend here, we blend because, you know, it's a show and I want to make sure we have a lot of fun. We're also teaching you something.
Tell us why
but I
you
want
blend.
I want to show you, it's not fun if I put a, I mean, am I wrong? Somebody tell me in the chat. If you want me to, I'll use a lid. I'll be happy to do it.
Let me set
But,
this
like-
up. I'm going to set this up. Scott Tompkins talks about how you don't need to have an expensive blender like a
true.
Vitamix
You don't.
to do the cooking that we do here on this show. And so
exactly right.
for the past year, he has threatened us with his $12 blender that he uses at home. And I have said for a full year that at his home, he uses a Vitamix and, in fact, does not have a $12 blender. And for our viewers at home, I want you all to know I saw him take this blender out of the box. So there, case in point, you bought this blender, you use a fancy one at home.
Look, I don't. I use, and my wife's watching, she will tell you, I use a little black Oster blender. Mine, funny enough, has like 8 little buttons on here.
Okay.
This only has 5, one of them being
Okay.
the off position. So this has the ice crush, smoothie, shake, and stir, and it's under $30 for this little blender. But I'm going to show you that you could do any, doesn't matter if you have an $800 blender or a little $20 blender, any blender is fine, especially
Okay.
when we're going to emulsify a simple dressing. We didn't decide, though, it's more fun to be able to watch down the tube, right? Like, I mean, you're safely in the comfort of your home. I'm here. I'm taking all the risks. So, right? You want to see it.
Yeah, you
Open.
live like fast and loose here, buddy.
Fast. That's my motto. I've always lived by it. I'm going to get a cutting board out. Make sure I don't sully anything else here. I have to. I'm going to admit, though, I don't know how this is going to work. We're adding a new element to the show here this is the wild card, is adding this new blender. I don't know how fast it's going to go, so you're going to get to watch as I do this, and we'll see. Whatever happens, look, we'll make it to the other side, I promise. I'm going to do a rub chop on my scallions here, about 2 cups. Now, if you want to, don't forget, take advantage of the H-E-B value-added veg that is all basically in the produce department. They have these scallions already chopped up for you. The green onions, really, really simple. It's a really simple vinaigrette.
Yes.
So it's about a 3-to-1 ratio on what I'm going to do. And that ratio basically be 3-to-1, the oil to vinegar. However, we are cooking salmon. Salmon a little bit fattier. We're using a fresh Atlantic salmon that comes from Norway. And I'll talk a little bit about our sustainable seafood program in a second. It's fantastic. A little more fat on that, right? We're not using like a coho salmon or a sockeye salmon. So there's a little more fat. I want a little bit of acid to kind of cut through that. So we're going to use a little bit of I've got about 2 tablespoons of Dijon mustard. This is my emulsifier. I don't know what it is. You don't have to have mustard and everything. I like to have an emulsified vinaigrette. I'm not just weird that way. I just like the way they taste. I like the way they look on the plate. I like how they're kind of more sauce-like in their consistency.
Yeah.
Equal amounts, rice vinegar and water. Now, why rice vinegar? Rice vinegar works really, really well with green onions. They're great flavor pals.
Yes.
If you don't have rice vinegar, you can always use red wine vinegar. I love red wine vinegar. You can use just plain old white vinegar, like white distilled vinegar that you clean your windows with, also fine. Because rice vinegar is a little sharper, I use about equal amounts of the water. That's why I pickle too. When I do pickling, if you do all vinegar, anybody ever tried to pickle with all vinegar, and you go to eat the pickle and you're like, and your eyes like shoot up into the back of your brain because it's so tart. Typically, you use like, it's a half and half vinegar, half water.
Okay.
Will get you that perfect pickling liquid. So if that's what's missing in your pickle recipe, you're like, I can't figure out how it's like, that's it, half vinegar, half water. That's what I'm doing here to kind of tone it all down. I'm gonna lose a little salt and pepper.
Okay.
I'm gonna be honest, I'm stalling a little bit because I have no idea how this is gonna, Rob, we'll see. We haven't lost a camera yet. Is the camera on it? You ready for this?
Well, I'm rooting for you.
I have a neutral oil, before we get started on this. I know you're on the edge of your seats because what do I use? The ice crush setting or do I use the smoothie setting? I have a neutral oil. I would avoid using extra virgin olive oil here unless you have a really, really, really buttery olive oil because you want to be able to taste everything else. I don't want to overpower the onions, and some of those olive oils are really good extra virgins, have a little bit of a bitter note to them or a little bit of that kind of like grassy note. And I just want something really clean. Sunflower oil is great, grapeseed oil is great, avocado oil, whichever one's kind of a, even plain old vegetable oil is totally fine. All right, here we go. What do you think? Stir, shake, or smoothie?
It's a crapshoot, whatever you want, friend. Ooh. Okay.
You see the top. It's a little louder than the last one, but I'm going to add a little bit of our oil here.
How does it feel to be God's favorite?
No good. Can't hear you. I'm going to slowly add our oil here. I'm going to go to the ice crush setting. We're just going to throw all caution to the wind. Beautifully emulsified. Come on.
What a beautiful spring color. I love it. Oh, I'm still screaming.
Look at that.
Sorry,
Nothing really happened. A few splashes on the cutting board that caught it. See, again, it just makes for better TV. There's always a risk involved in doing these things. This dressing, I'm going to taste. Now, if you're saying to yourself, it sounds really good, but I don't really like green onions that much, Scott, or is there a way to kind of like, can I tone down the green onions? And I'm going to give you my trick. Yes, you can blanch your green onions. I also have another little trick about, you're probably saying to yourself, that's a lot of dressing, Scott. I'm going to go, you're darn right it is. And there's a purpose for that. If you think that you're not a big fan of green onions, you can always bring a pot of water to a boil, good amount of salt, so it's a little bit salted, and then blanch your green onions, the same amount, whole, for about 15 seconds. Throw them in an ice bath. What that's going to do is it's going to kind of cook the green onion just for a second to kind of get some of that raw onion flavor out.
Yep.
I feel sitting in the vinegar and kind of doing everything it's doing, it'll kind of soften either way, but I love that bright green onion flavor, especially with the salmon. It's got a little bit of fat. We're kind of making sure everything like stays together. So we're kind of like, we want flavors on your palate that kind of push and pull, right?
So by blanching your onion, what you're doing is the heat from the water is you're basically inhibiting or killing the enzyme that produces that oniony flavor. So once the cell is broken, this enzymatic process happens, and this oniony thing, is produced. So by blanching it, you prevent that.
I was so close to explaining it almost exactly like that, but it was such a better scientific example of exactly. Yes, that is exactly why. Science, folks. All right, this needs to go in the refrigerator for about 30 minutes to 45 minutes. Again, the longer the better. I kind of teased you and I left you hanging. Why do I make so much dressing? Here's the reason. I don't like recipes where when they give you a salad or they do whatever, they do one serving. So like you use it on the salad, it's done. Well, the problem is if you have leftovers, you want to do something else, you're like, I wish I had more of that dressing. I don't have to make the whole thing over again. I typically make enough dressing for the next day or the next day because it can be used on everything. And that green scallion vinaigrette is really good on everything. So you can basically use it as a marinade for your chicken. You can pour it on your salmon. You can use it, the leftover salmon you have, take that and put it over a salad, do the whole thing. Like, it's so much easier to do it that way.
What I'm hearing is meal prep.
Yes, meal prep. That is exactly right.
You're meal prepping.
Charlotte, you want a shrimp?
You better believe it.
Okay, so this is great. I'm glad this is a fantastic teaching moment right now that I get to do for myself as well. I left my oil unattended. I walked away. My oil temperature is at 380 degrees. How do I know that? Because I invested in one of these little $7 Taylor thermometers you can buy at any H-E-B. I recommend getting a thermometer for any time you're going to fry because the problem is if you like we all do, we get busy, we're time starved, we start doing something, you go, all right, I'm going to heat the oil up. You did all the meals we did, right? Sunday, you did your whole meal prep. And then all of a sudden, like life gets busy, phone call, kids, whatever's going on, TV, you're catching up on the news, whatever's happening. And all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, the oil's been on for an hour. and it's probably like 700 degrees right now. Well, if you come over and your Taylor thermometer, it's off where it says the Fahrenheit Celsius, turn the oil off and add fresh oil to the pot. And I promise you, it will recover a lot faster. It will lower the temperature a lot quicker, but don't fry in oil where it's off the charts hot. But if it's at 360 to 380, I'm okay with that because I'm going to add a lot of cold shrimp to this. So just be careful like in anything. But the fact that I have such a beautifully even heat because I'm using a cast iron skillet to fry in, it makes it so much better. So it's at 380 and it's holding pretty steady. So we're getting up there. So I'm going to do a little bit of I'm going to bring the oil temp down. You can see, oh, beautiful. Nice and gentle. Do not drop your shrimp from this height into the oil because otherwise, unless you like burn tattoos, and then that's fine too,
I have a question from one of our viewers.
Yes.
Peanut oil. What if you cannot use peanut oil? What is a good sub?
Don't worry. If you are allergic to peanut oil or know somebody that is, that's in your family, don't worry about peanut oil. I just like any high temperature oil is totally fine. My next go-to would probably be like an avocado. Avocado can be expensive. Canola oil's just fine, totally fine. It'll be way good up until 450 degrees, which you won't need anyway, unless, again, you walk away from the oil and you leave it. But again, adding cold oil to your oil that's too hot is the best way to get it to calm down. All right, I've got a little appetizer here, Sean. I'll put my shrimp back in the fridge. Let me get out my scallops and my salmon here. All right, we're frying up our shrimp. Will you put me a 3-minute timer, Charlotte?
You better believe it.
3-minute timer. All right, we made this citrus salt. Can I use the one? Actually, you know what? I'm going to use this one. Can I show you this? Can I share this real fast? This little guy right here. See, I'll point at it. This little guy. Super cute.
Oh.
Hello. It's a K&T. This little guy right here. It's a K&T. This is like, what is this, marble? Charlotte, what is this? It's like a...
It's
like
marble.
It's heavy, like marble. It's great.
I can't find my clock to put it. Okay, here we go.
Salt
Your timer's
dispenser.
good. This is the most amazing gift. I would love to receive a salt cellar full of homemade salt. Remember this for the holidays.
Remember this for
birthdays.
bridal showers, for anything like give the gift of salt, right? If I could give you anything, I'd give the world salt. I'm salty enough, so maybe I should add a little sugar to that as well, but we'll say I would give that to the world. Check on this. What we're looking for, skim off any of the coconut that just comes off. Best way to set yourself up for success, again, have a little rack with a sheet pan with a just a fitted sheet rack on the side here.
Okay.
And you'll be good to go when you start draining everything.
Look at that shot. Look at how, okay.
Look at this. So can you see this? This is my, oh, by the way, do you like this?
That's a really nice spider.
It's my little, you know, it was a gift from the Dalai Lama. I got one of these.
Yes.
These are handmade. I got this at HEB. I'm not gonna. I like to think I have powerful friends, the Dalai Lama, but every time I call him, he never returns my phone calls. I'm assuming he's getting them. He's got to be getting them.
So in the culinary world, we call that a spider. I don't know what it said on the package. Did it call it a strainer?
A strainer. I believe it's called strainer on there, but yes, it is called spider.
We call it a spider.
I like the spider. It's a fantastic thing. I've got 7 scallops and 2 beautiful pieces of Atlantic salmon. So really quick, a word on sustainability as far as the seafood goes. Again, if you don't have an HEB, you live somewhere else, Kentucky, New York, Canada, Beijing, wherever you live and you're watching this, just know that, like, yes, you may not have sustainable seafood, the practices that we do, but just know HEB, when you shop at an HEB locally, our commitment to seafood sustainability is insane, and it's so great, and we are big believers in everything always being fresh, safe, responsibly sourced, and all the seafood being that we have. The Atlantic salmon is actually farm raised in Norway, and I think most people think farm raised as being in like little fish tanks, like the goldfish when you go to like PetSmart. Not the same thing. These are actually raised in the ocean in cold water. They're fantastic programs, and we are big believers in that whole sustainable practice. So it's really, really good. You can always trust when you go into your local HEB. Go to your seafood counter. If you're nervous or you're kind of like, look, I'm intimidated about doing whatever, they have great advice. They'll help you. They'll get you the cut you're looking for. If you're like, look at the salmon going, can I get like a side piece? Can I get a piece? Can you skin it for me? Anything you need, just go in there. They're happy to accommodate. That's what they're there for. And they're great. They're the pros, and they will help you out with anything, and they're great at answering all your questions as well. When it comes to scallops, I kind of want to do a scallop 101 because I feel like a lot of people don't. It's like one of the biggest things that people order on a menu would be scallops. I think most people are afraid to cook at home because they're a little more expensive. But what's funny is people will go out and buy a Wagyu ribeye for $20, $30 a pound and cook that no problem. But with seafood, we're a little bit intimidated about cooking things. And I think with scallops especially, they're like, how do you know when they're done? Like, how do you cook them? Like, If you overcook them, are they like? Can you get sick if they're undercooked or whatever? So I'm going to show you some really simple techniques.
Timer.
That's my timer. All right, let's check these out as I'm talking here. So what I want to see. So these are golden. They're getting there. I'm going to turn my oil back up. My oil fell to about 325. Turn this back up, get it nice and hot. I'm going to go for about another minute. I'm going to check it out. You don't need to set a timer. I'm going to let my nose be my guide. I'm going to start to smell that golden brown. But I'm going to show you tips and techniques on searing scallops that are really, really simple. And the great thing about both of these seafood dishes I'm going to cook, if you've never cooked salmon before, there's an easy tell. When the seafood starts to get cooked, it's going to go from this more translucent color to more of an opaque. And I like to cook my salmon. I'm not a big fan of the salmon skin. If you are, do the reverse of what I'm about to tell you. Okay. I season the top of my salmon only and the top of one side of my scallop only. I season it really liberally, and I sear it in a really, really hot pan. So at this point, I've got 2 Canty pans. I'm going to turn them on. And since these are about 100,000 BTU stove that I don't normally have at home, I'm going to put this over about medium heat, both of them. And a little bit of, I'm going to just give it time. But the best way to sear a scallop the right way is to let it, just like you would do a good steak, let it come to room temperature before you start cooking it. Because if it's cold in the center, it's the same thing's going to happen, right? You'll get a nice sear on the outside, but you may have that kind of raw scallop in the middle. I don't mind that. I know some people don't mind that about a steak if they like theirs black and blue. But if you don't, you want to practice a little more safe, and this is your first time doing it. I love a scallop. To me, is perfect at about medium to like medium well a little bit. But you don't want the scallop to go kind of in this like where it gets so cooked that it starts to go, it'll like start to push out on the top, which is not what you want. You want it to you just want to sear it beautifully on both sides. And I'll show you what I call like Charlotte, you call it the side of your finger?
Yeah, the width
but everybody's fingers are different. I call it the eraser tip, like the eraser tip. When you see that opaque kind of go towards us, just a translucent to about the fingertip, you turn them off, pull them off, because that carryover cooking is going to get you that perfect balance right after it's done. Same thing with our salmon. We're going to sear it real hard on one side, about 85 to 90% of the way cooked on the first side. So we have that beautiful crust, and underneath, we'll flip it over when we're done and we'll get the skin. Now, if you like the crispy skin, do the exact reverse. So it's like chip crispy on top when you get the skin. But I want that beautiful skin, this beautiful flesh to be really crispy, so that way when you kind of bite into it, it's like that creamy salmon underneath, that big crispy. It's so good. All right, the seasoning right on top.
I don't know.
Citrus
I have
salt.
a thing.
What's
when
your
it
thing?
comes to
Tell
salmon,
me.
it either has to be 100% completely raw or 100% completely cooked evenly the whole way through.
Isn't it weird that I think most people, I'm assuming you're talking about sushi.
Yes.
Will eat their fish completely raw, but if it was lightly cooked and they brought it to the table, you're like, just get it away.
I don't know if it's about
or
the
it's overcooked.
expectation my brain or my palate has. I don't know what it is.
I think it's not wrong. I think a lot of people probably feel the same way. You can poll the audience right now and see if they're the same way. I'm sure a lot of people probably feel like they'll eat. So you see, I'm seasoning this liberally with our citrus salt. It's going to sit for a second. I'm going to go to my hot pan. So at this point, I feel like my shrimp is good to go, but I'm going to give a little check here. So this, you see this, Rob?
At that.
So beautiful golden brown. Don't do what I'm doing, but you can feel like that skin getting a little more crispy.
I mean, that's like a $15 plate of shrimp, maybe a $19 plate of shrimp.
And the entire bag of colossal shrimp will cost you $19. Entire bag, if you ate the entire bag. All right, scallops. I'm going to put these, a little bit of oil in the pan. Not a lot, just a little. I'm going to do a little bit on top of the scallop just to kind of get it. I'm just going to do just a hair. You can use olive oil. I feel like I talk about this a lot. I'm a little different on my stance with extra virgin olive oil. I do a lot of high heat cooking in extra virgin olive oil. Every olive, a lot of chefs say that's stupid to do that because olive oil burns really fast. Well, every olive is different. Every olive varietal is different, and some have higher smoke points than others. So it just kind of depends on the kind of olive oil you're using.
I mean, I've got some high-end olive oils that I use for
finishing. Absolutely, and you should. Yeah, but some olives are have a lot more heat tolerant. I know that the Picual olive out of Spain, which I love. Picual, it's a little spicier. It's way more heat tolerant and can handle heats up to 400 degrees. So again, it just depends on what they're mixed with. A lot of extra virgin olive oils are mixed with like hojiblanca, Picual. There's some Greek olives come out. There's so many different things. So they're all a little bit different as far as
you know your Spanish olive oil there, friend.
I love Spanish olive oil. I'm not gonna lie. I also love Tunisian olive oil. I got a neighbor who's Tunisian, and that olive oil is so good as well. We sell. I don't know if you've ever walked lately the olive oil aisle at HEB. If you're local HEB, there's some fantastic olive oils California, Texas, Chile, Argentina, Tunisia, Greece, Sicily. I mean, they're everywhere. Italy, of course. I mean, there's so many different olive oils everywhere. All right, I'm going to put my salmon here down. I'm going to get rid of my gloves here. I'm going to do it just a little bit on top of my salmon. I'm not going to put any in the pan. It's a bigger pan. I'm just going to be nice and direct with my, all right, and this is going to show you, Rob's got a super sick cam set up here.
Ooh, listen to that.
So we're going to watch this. Now you're going to see, I'm going to move this guy over. Got a pair of tongs here. My coconut shrimp smell so good right now. It's so good. They smell so good. All right, my salmon tongs, I'm going to put right here. So we can see, now Rob, I'll try to move these so you can see them here, the camera. So we have, I don't know if you can kind of see it. I'm going to kind of turn on its side here. You see this? That little ridge?
Yes.
So that is that where
I
it's
see it.
like was opaque. Now it's going to that like more translucent to opaque. We're going to let that go. The salmon is ready to flip when about halfway up the side of the salmon, however the thickness is, so it depends on the thickness. As soon as it's about halfway through where it's kind of like it's gone from translucent to opaque, that's when you're ready to flip the salmon over and finish it out because it'll be really, really nice and crispy. These coconut shrimp smell sick.
Okay, just so you know, I got Michael, Julie, Jan, and Gordon. They are all Team Crispy Skin, so...
Team Crispy Skin. Oh, there you go, see?
All right,
So
we're going to have to see a 1-and-1.
Just do the opposite of what I'm doing. Do the skin side down first.
Okay.
Get it that shit. And look, it is really, really good when you do the crispy side, crispy skin down because it does make like more of that chip thing, whereas having the flesh side, because it's different, it is going to be just that it'll have a nice little crust on top, but then it'll have that beautiful kind of like flesh underneath.
Okay.
But I do like, there is a place. I'm not hating on the fact that the skin, I think there's a great place for it, for having the skin. Just depends on your taste. So I love you guys. They're crispy skin fans. Should I fry some more coconut shrimp? Yep.
Please do.
I will. I'm just going to up the ante on all of your coconut. Actually, I'm just going to use my fingers
Scott
here.
Tompkins, we have a question. So would you sear the salmon at the same temp if you wanted to do crispy skin?
Yes.
And what temp do you have that pan on?
This is about medium. Again,
Okay.
I'm at like, this is like, you know, the 80,000 BTU stove here, so it's a little bit higher. But I would go about medium heat for this because what you don't want to do, what you want to avoid doing is you definitely don't want to burn it before you start to get to that perfect sear. Oh my gosh, my scallop's looking beautiful. I'm going to show you a little tell in a second. But you want to kind of keep it to where it cooks, it'll sear and cook, but it's not like so scorching hot to where all that great stuff is going to burn, and then you're like, oh, overcooked,
yes.
and you have to scrape everything off and eat the inside. That's not good. All right,
So
let me show
at
you
our
this.
house, my medium is like high.
Yeah?
And
What about Hunter?
Hunter's medium is probably a really true, accurate medium.
Well, because you're used to cooking in restaurants, the way
Yes.
we cook here, we're at high temperature, we're usually moving very fast, so it tends to be
Yes.
that way. All right, my scallops. Let me show you this, using my tongs here. My scallop is, just check and see how they're doing. If it's not brown enough for you, you just keep it cooking until it is. But you're going to start to see, when I flip them over, we'll kind of look for where it kind of, the opaque from the top and the bottom, from the cooking of it, starts to kind of go more like, you know, more and more creeps up to where you get this little thin line. I call it the eraser. When it's like the tip of a pencil eraser is kind of like right in the center, that's what you have left. That's when you're about at that perfect, for my taste, and like for the taste of the actual scallop itself, like where it's like, this is where you should eat it. If it freaks you out to eat anything that's like not fully cooked, then just cook it a little bit longer until you don't see any more of that little eraser head, or it's really such a thin line that you can pull it, because I promise you, carryover cooking is just like shrimp. They cook really, really fast. So this has been about 3 minutes maybe. I'm going to get a little crispier here. So I'm going to show you this. You see this? This is kind of our, Rob, I don't know which one you can see better, the back one, front one? This guy. So you see how we're starting to slowly, see how it's starting to slowly creep up? It's just starting to, now it's about, you know, quarter of the way up.
Yeah.
We're just going to keep it going. I got my shrimp going. I got this going. I got my scallops. Look at my scallops. Ready for this? Dump these in my sanitizer real fast. I did what I said I wasn't going to do. I was like, I got 2 sets of tongs for 2 different things, and you know, sometimes it happens. Good thing I'm just feeding us, right? All right, we're good. We're safe again. All right, here we go. I'm going to flip. That's what you want. I want crispy. You want that skin on top. I want crispy scallop on top. Let it go. Do not be scared. Let it sear. Even if it goes like all the way on one side, let it sear. Sear it good. And this is where I'm going to show you in like a second here. I'll start to show you the scallop, but you can see, like Rob, I'll show you this. See how you can see this is pretty translucent, right? You can kind of see that this is more opaque, translucent. As we start cooking these, you're going to notice it's going to start creeping up, and eventually we want the kind of the tip of the eraser is what we're going for. Our salmon, I just want to show you a little
Those
sheet. You
scallops
see
are
this? Look at that.
absolutely gorgeous. And look at that California tan on
that
the
salmon,
side of that
Spent
salmon.
at the beach. I just did it again with my tongs. It's hard. You know, you get excited. You want to start moving everything. All right, I'm going to separate my tongs again. Here we go. You stay on this side. Those scallops, look at my shrimp again. So my oil, again, we're frying using a Dutch oven, so the temperature is so much more even. My gosh,
It smells
already
like,
up to like
toasted
350 again.
coconut in here.
It smells good, right? You
Yeah.
like coconut shrimp? Oh, look at these guys. I'm telling you, there's something about this, the skin, the cornstarch, the way everything kind of just flies up beautifully all by itself. All right, here we go. You know what we needed, Charlotte? We needed a dessert to go with all this seafood. What would you serve? What kind of dessert would you serve with this, Charlotte?
Champagne.
Champagne? That's a dessert.
Yeah.
Is that like a cake, or is that like,
Nope,
I don't know, like to pop the bubbles?
It's a beverage.
It is a beverage.
It's a
Yeah,
beverage.
it is a beverage. It is a
All
just
this delicious
champagne.
fried goodness, champagne.
So that would be dessert and what you drink with it then, right?
You could do a pina colada.
Pina colada, really?
Yeah.
Because the coconut, you're saying.
Yeah.
All right, I'm with you on that.
Ooh, Cindy says something lemony. So like a
Something-
lemon bar. We could
Okay.
do a citrus lemon bar type thing.
Oh, there you
Tompkins
go.
loves to make lemon bars, by the way.
I do. We're going to be making a lemon bar pretty soon. I think in June or, no, when is that? I think it's coming up pretty fast.
I'm making a pineapple bar coming up pretty quick.
It's a lemon bar with our variegated lemons. All right, that's enough on the coconut shrimp. Is that enough for you, Charlotte? Did I hit
Yep.
the mark? Did we get
Ooh,
enough for
Amy
the-
says a Grand Marnier souffle. Amy,
Ooh,
that is out of my
what?
depths, but absolutely yes, I support that.
This is
Ooh, Carmen.
these guys are doing it right today.
Lemon sorbetto. She actually
Oh, there
called
you
out
go.
HEB lemon
Oh,
sorbetto.
like limoncello? Like
Carmen,
over
your
the
check is in the
sorbetto?
mail.
We don't sell limoncello, but you can always just go find it. All right, I'm flipping it over. See that? It's going to tighten up. Look at that crispy skin on top. We see
Look
that?
at that.
That right there?
That
what
is
it's all
a
about.
sear. That is what we call a sear. That is
So-
a California tan. It is crispy, crunchy.
This skin on top is super crunchy, meaning everything underneath it is going to be real soft, so you're going to get that texture, right? So when we're eating food, it's like you get the little texture from the crunch, but you also get this beautiful, all right, my scallops are done. Let me show you this. Watch this. Ready for this? See that? See how there's, let me get one of these little guys.
Okay.
So these are like, you almost can't see them. These are almost like two.
No.
There you go. There's
it's
a little
perfect.
bit of that opaque on that side.
Yeah.
So these are good. These are way good. I'm going to pull these guys way off. Again, it doesn't take very long. How long was that, Charlotte?
I don't know, 4 minutes, 6 minutes?
Not very long.
Not very long.
This,
I was too busy watching what you were doing. This with like in a little pool of the vinaigrette is
you
going
want
to be
vinaigrette on the
phenomenal.
scallops too?
Yes, but don't put the vinaigrette on top of the sear for me, please, because that is a selling point. I need to see it.
You want to see
And
visually?
don't, yes.
It's visually appealing. You want to see it.
Yes.
I got the 4-3 going
Okay.
here. Oh, let me push it over. Pushing it over. So you want a little dollop on the side, you're saying?
Yeah, like a pool. I want it in a swimming pool of vinaigrette, please.
I know exactly what you're talking about, and I'm going to make it happen right now. All right, vinaigrette I made earlier. Again, the longer this sits, the better it is. I'm telling you, I'm a big fan of making things in advance. And when you make a vinaigrette or you're doing something like that, it's so much better to just be able to goo. Not goo. We're not going to goo, not gum it up like goo. It's so much better to make extra that can go over anything else you're going to do the rest of the week. All right, a little bit of my vinaigrette here.
Ooh. Yeah, there we go. Look at this.
Just so it kind of, you want to be able to drag
like
the sauce.
it.
You want to be able to drag the sauce through the scallop?
Picasso.
Let's do a little bit of, you know what, I'm going to do dill on the salmon. I think you want a little dill on the, or you want them plain? You want to not mess that up? You can tell me. Just be honest.
What?
Leave it? You want to leave
No,
the
don't ruin it with dill.
Okay, no dill.
I'm
Dill on
in
the salmon.
mint.
dill on
I would
salmon.
have been on board with chive, yes, but dill is not my favorite.
All right, we'll do a little, I'm going to do a little dill. Dill on the salmon is fantastic. When
It
it comes
is.
off, it's hot, it's finishing up. Let me plate our fantastically hot coconut shrimp. So the coconut shrimp, right? That to me that I just made over there is probably a portion just for moi, but happy to share.
Oh,
make a side dish.
why you gotta be so shellfish?
Oh, was that a seafood joke, Charlotte? How long
Was.
was that in your back pocket? Pretty long time?
I've been
Were you
sitting
thinking
here
of it the
for
entire
51 minutes waiting.
Were you Googling it the entire time?
I heard
to
somebody else say it earlier,
shellfish
and
jokes.
I thought I would use it. Shellfish.
You know, it's pretty good. I'm not gonna lie to you. That was a good zinger. Way to go. Way to go.
I'll
All right,
be here
I'm gonna put my
all
coconut
week,
shrimp over here.
folks. Tip your bartender.
So what kind of sauce do you like on your coconut shrimp?
Okay, so there's lots of ways you can go.
A lot
with
of
this,
ways, right?
all right? I like, that delicious chili, like that chili sauce.
Yeah, sweet chili sauce.
Sweet
like
chili
a Thai chili sauce.
would be beautiful.
Yep.
I see you've got the Korean barbecue up there. So
I kind of grabbed everything. I don't know what everybody really likes. I was like, you know what? I'll just grab a few things.
Well,
they don't need a lot. There's your plate of coconut shrimp. I'm gonna move my bowl of coconut because I don't need that anymore. Really simple, but again, it's anything you want. These are, by the way, taste them on their own because they're fantastic. But yes, any sauce you want to pair these with is great. Charlotte, I'm gonna remove my my salmon, but I want to do a side dish because I feel like it's a lot of fish. We have surf and surf and surf, which I
That's
don't
okay.
mind. The surf and surf and surf.
you
but
did call it a seafood class, so
seafood class.
I mean,
I'm
you
gonna
did-
do a little
you
veg with
delivered.
this. Okay, who are my skin lovers? My skin.
Jan, Gordon, Julie,
This is like-
and
See that?
Michael. Y'all,
Still got a serious
There it is.
skin on this bad boy. So if you don't like skin, what you just did for yourself, honestly, is you can just peel the skin right off. But for those that love it, leave it on there.
Albert wants to know how long we should cook the salmon. He usually uses an air fryer.
You can use an air fryer. Honestly, Albert, great name, by the way, Albert. You want to cook it for literally probably 5 to 6 minutes aside, depending on the thickness, and go
Okay.
until at least the internal temp is around 140. If that makes you nervous, I like mine more kind of medium, teetering on medium rare. I tend to go like 137, 138. But just go until it's at least 130 or 140 in the middle, and then kind of go from there to gauge out, which is pretty much like right now, like I have a little, you can see like, I don't know if you can see that, Rob. There's a little bit of that translucent, but it's
Yep.
cooked enough, and I've got carryover heat. So to my taste, and I think to Charlotte's taste, she doesn't want any raw, it's going to finish out cooking, and it has just enough to where we're good.
I
We are
want
good on
the
that.
same texture of that protein all the
Yep.
way through.
Okay. I'm just taking this as our K&T nonstick pan, so guess what? I'm going to do a quick wipe out, and
Okay.
it's ready to use again. I'm going to keep it nice and hot. Charlotte, if I'm doing a veg, I'm going to show you a real quick trick to do veg along the side of this. I'm going to get a nice hot pan again, my neutral oil, and I'm going to do, this is going to be a 3-minute. I need 3 minutes.
3 minutes?
You want
Okay.
broccoli or asparagus? Broccoli? I happen to grab that first. We'll just do
Perfect.
broccoli. Let's pretend you said broccoli.
You know, I don't like asparagus.
You don't like
the older I
asparagus?
get, I'm like regressing, like a child. I'm like,
Really?
nope, I don't like that anymore, so I don't eat it.
So you're doing like the chicken nuggies and corn dogs and like steamed broccoli? Or that kind of like,
Yeah, corn, yes.
all right, nothing wrong with that.
Mac and cheese bites.
Look, sometimes, I'm not gonna lie to you, it can't all be Michelin star and 3-course
You know-
tasting menus, right? Or 10-course tasting menus. You know, sometimes it's about practicality. Everybody's busy, everybody's got a million things going on. So you gotta do what's easiest for you. That's why we're here with these classes. It's look at us, take it all in, look at what it is, figure out what you like, figure out what you don't like, figure out the techniques, and then just take it or go, you know what, I'm gonna do this, or tweak it. That's the greatest thing about it. All right, I'm gonna use my same citrus salt. This citrus salt, again, good on everything. A little bit of my salt on there. I'm gonna let it all kind of sit. Because broccoli is a cruciferous vegetable, you see I didn't use a lot of oil in here, that's all right. I'm gonna let it get nice and charred, and I'm gonna deglaze our pan with one of my lemons I have left over that I zested here.
Ooh.
I'm just gonna cut this guy. Reason why I'm gonna deglaze it, when I go into a really hot pan with my salmon here, that I have my salmon in with my vegetables, it's gonna immediately evaporate and concentrate that lemon flavor, so you're gonna get this really nice like hit of that really nice acidic like lemon. That's gonna go great, and it's gonna really, really nice with our vinaigrette that I'm gonna put up at the top. So while that's resting, remember I want hot food to stay hot here. I'm just gonna give it a little turn. 3 minutes, you got me a 3-minute timer? Actually, it's more like 2 minutes
yes,
now.
I'm
Give me
yes,
2
yes.
minutes. 2 minutes, chef, 2 minutes.
Okay, 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Also, I just should have showed you the bag. The bag of broccoli can also be steamed for use. You can throw the microwave. The bag is completely microwavable. You can steam it and have it on the side of your salmon in no time. But we've done coconut shrimp, we've done scallops, and we've done salmon, and now we're doing broccoli all within the hour, right? How much time I got left?
You got plenty of time.
Plenty of time to finish my broccoli.
Yes.
All right, about 2 minutes here.
You got way more time than 2 minutes.
All that great stuff
You know,
here.
I prefer the broccoli this way as
Oh,
opposed
vinaigrette's
to
over here.
steamed.
I feel like if you have not, everybody's kind of like tasted nowadays, Brussels sprouts have really gone to a new level. We've been, you go to a restaurant, they're fried, you fry them at home. It's really a totally different scenario to if you, grew up where your mom or grandma or somebody was steaming Brussels sprouts. The eating texture of cruciferous that's steeped in water for a long period of time versus something that is really flash fried or flash cooked and like crispy and gets that caramelization of all those beautiful sugars in there. It's so much better. That's what we're doing to our broccoli here. So quick sear. Again, that burn on the cruciferous, and Charlotte, you know more than anybody, because your degrees in nutrition, like cruciferous vegetables, obviously they're really good for you, but there's something about burning the broccoli, the cabbage, like all that stuff, because it just is so good. It's so good with the burn flavor, I promise. If this makes you nervous, don't let it make you nervous.
I love it. There's something about that acrid, like burnt
It
flavor.
really is.
You know what it is that cruciferous or brassicas have a naturally occurring bitter note to them, like just a real, like naturally occurring. So when you add, it's like when we say like drink wine or pair wine, like goes with like. So a little bit of that acrid, burny char, so good.
Little lemon juice. Say that word again. Brassica is probably my favorite word
Brassica?
in the world.
Cruciferous and brassica are same.
If I had to do it all over again and I didn't do the culinary thing, I would go be a boxer and I would be Brassica Tompkins. And they'd be like,
Up timer.
that doesn't make any sense. That's my timer. Well, guess what? We're ready to go. Brassica Tompkins, because I feel like it sounds tough. And all along, I'd also be very healthy because I was a brassica. No? Charlotte, you're into that.
I support that. You would be.
All right. Look at how hot and seared this. It's still coming out, just searing. I love broccoli, man. I love it, just caramelized. And again, this is not broccoli that you're going to be like, it's mushy, it's hard. This has to, again, look at all that steam. This has a lot of carryover cooking that's going to happen. So between now and the time you eat this, it's going to cook a little bit more. And it's going to have that beautiful kind of slight crunch, but it's still really nice and crispy. All right, a little bit of our vinaigrette. Again, we don't need to go crazy. This is all about just giving a little complement of the flavor here. So just a little bit over the top. I want to still be able to see our little, not a lot. Again, it's just about kind of highlighting. Or do you want a little bit on the broccoli? Let's do a little on the broccoli.
I mean, kind of now. I love a vinaigrette for a sauce. I think as the temperature like warms up outside, it's very light, it's refreshing, the acidity balances well, and like
so good.
Right, and as it
coming
warms
hot.
up, like that, the flavors sort of mellow. Oh, I'm into it.
Boom. All right. So we hope this seafood class has been eye-opening for you. We hope you've learned a couple tips and techniques. Hopefully, if nothing else, you kind of realize you're like, okay, scallops are fairly easy to cook. All you're doing is just like a steak on one side, so it gets nice and caramelized. Flip it over. Takes a lot less time. You're eating. That's the great thing about scallops is those are beautifully caramelized, and they're done in like 5-6 minutes is it. So you're on the table. You get some polenta underneath those. Fantastic. Really easy. The veg on the side, the salmon, nice and healthy. I think Charlotte would tell you this is a well-balanced meal, right?
Yeah.
That's right. That's got the vinaigrette. It's got a little dill, fresh herb.
Yeah.
A lot of green on that plate.
Love it.
This also heart happy. So there's heartish. It's all
It's all
fairly
good. It's all great.
healthy, but
It's
then
all
you have
gravy.
that,
I
you
love
gotta have
it.
a spoiler every once in a while. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. If you missed anything, don't forget, go to our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/HEB. Check out all the fantastic content. Celebrity chefs, wine stewards, so many great things you've missed over the last year and a half. Check it all out. To find out what's coming up next in our classes, we have a whole year planned out for you guys, ready to go. So many great things going on. Simply go to our heb.com/classes website. That's again, heb.com/classes. Charlotte, what is going on next week? At the,
So glad you asked.
HEB front?
Next week, I will be teaching a class on party perfect foods. So we're going to do some fun party apps.
And she'll be here. I'll be in the hot seat.
It'll be great.
It's going to be a party. It's going to be great. Guys, thank you so much. God bless. We will see you next time.